Hi, it's your friendly neighborhood man in a magenta wig for your long overdue second look into the bag of music swag. And because it's a great place to start, this time we're starting out with the Beatles. This is one of the earlier editions that came out of their unreleased album Sessions, which was kind of a John is dead, let's scrape together one last album of material sort of thing. But unfortunately, the people compiling it didn't actually consult with the Beatles. So it never came out, and it was just bootlegged extensively. This is a sort of interesting one because they moved the songs in chronological order, which the original album wasn't. The quality's not that great. Better versions of Sessions have come out, and to be honest, most of the songs are on Anthology 1, 2, and 3 anyway, so... But hey, if you want to own an unreleased Beatles album, you know, it's not that hard to find. And speaking of unreleased albums, this is the only vinyl bootleg of the Beach Boys' unreleased 1977 album, Merry Christmas from the Beach Boys, which the bootlegger has retitled Merry Christmas from the California Legends. This is only one of 2 bootlegs of this I actually know of. The other one was in some sort of big box set of CDs called the Beach Boys Journals or something. So it's not the most common album to find, and to be honest, it's not really that great either. Like, I mean, you can tell fairly quickly why the record company rejected it, but even still, it does fill a gap in the Beach Boys discography, and it is kind of nice to have, just as a curiosity item. In this one, I don't really know if you could call this a bootleg. I think it's more of just like gray market, someone got their hands on material and put it into stores kind of thing. This is a picture disc called Tales of the Monkees, which claims to be a number of live performances from the Monkees. It actually isn't. It's the late 70s spin-off group Dolenz, Jones, Boyce, and Hart. But even still, you know, if you are a Monkees collector, it's nice to have, and it's a bunch of live recordings you wouldn't hear elsewhere. So, you know, it is worth a fairly reasonable price you can find it for on eBay and places like that. Alright, this one I think is fairly recent. I grabbed it in a record store because it's just so cool looking. I just couldn't pass it up. This is a bootleg of Jimi Hendrix live in Germany. Various appearances on TV shows and things. Usually I don't just collect, you know, live recordings and things because they bore me. This one caught my attention because they actually went out of their way to make it look like a Polydor Records release, which always impresses me. I love the like alternate universe bootlegs and stuff. But as you can see, they actually extend that theme to the label too, so that's pretty cool. And it's actually a pretty good quality album as well. And speaking of sort of fantasy alternate universe Jimi Hendrix releases, I actually found this one fairly cheap in the new arrivals bin at a local record store because I don't know if they knew exactly what it was. I think they thought it was legit, but it claims to be a promotional release of Jimi's posthumous album Crash Landing, but without all of the overdubs that they added in the mid-70s. Obviously it wasn't, and this actually only came out a few years ago, but you can see by the label, you know, they made it look pretty legit. It actually looks like a Polydor promotional album, so that's pretty cool. Speaking of fake promotional albums, this is a biggie. This is the Beatles collector's items, which started circulating at record fairs and things in the late 70s, and many people believed it to be a legitimate Capitol promotional item full of Beatles rarities. And whoever put it together, I mean, did a really good job. As you can see, they actually did make it look like a legitimate Capitol Records album. It's always been sort of rumored that this was an in-house job because a couple years later, the Beatles album Rarities came out for real and featured some of the mixes that appeared on this. So if anyone has more information about that, you know, feel free to let me know because I am curious. This was another one that tried to look like a Capitol Records release. This is a Beatles one called Not Guilty, which is mostly notable because it had the first appearance of George Harrison's White Album outtake Not Guilty, albeit in poor quality and sped up to like chipmunk speed. But, you know, as is usual with these things, the first leaked version usually sucks, and then a better one comes out later. And if you're a Beatles collector, you'll know that, you know, there are a lot of variations of the song Not Guilty out there now. But yeah, content-wise, not so great. It's a lot of, you know, taking one channel of a song and calling that an outtake when it's just, you know, the left channel of Rain. But the cover is nice. They made it look like a mid-60s Capitol release, including a Rubber Soul look-alike back, so that's pretty cool too. This one is just confusing. I think it's from Korea. I've seen you know, knockoff Korean LPs, and they tend to look like this. So it's apparently a Herb Alpert album called A Mariachi, but the problem is it doesn't seem very sure which Herb Alpert album it is. Okay, so the cover image is from his album What Now My Love. The song list on the back is from Whipped Cream, and the orange vinyl record inside is a copy of Going Places. So yes, a very strange album with multiple personalities apparently. Oh, here we go. Obligatory Rocky content. Yes, I too do the rock. It's somewhat stimulating, not as much as people have told me, so that was a slight disappointment. You know, it's really hard to hold an album when Tim Curry is looking at you like that. Okay, and now for the grand finale. We're going to leave the bag of music swag behind and go into the big protective cardboard box of music swag. So in the first video, I showed off the first vinyl bootleg of the Beach Boys' Smile, which was essentially the first time, you know, the public at large had heard that album. Well, my collection has grown somewhat since then. And as far as I know, I actually have all of the vinyl bootleg versions of Smile now. So here's a brief history. 1983 pretends to be a Brothers Records release, tries to look legit. Not great. 1985 second edition Brothers Records, a little bit better. They had some more material available. They didn't have to put phony songs on and stuff to pad out the album. This is a 1991 2-LP set that claims to be a Capitol Records release. This apparently is insanely rare. Most people I found that were selling copies actually wanted over $1,000. I got this for less than $50 on Music Stack just by a complete whim, because honestly I didn't think I would actually get to own this one at any point, but you know, when you really want something you just gotta keep looking. This is a really popular one. This is the 1993 Vigatone 3-LP set. All records are on different colors of vinyl. Comes with a huge poster of the album cover. It has a packet of photocopied studio logs from the Smile sessions, and apparently a lot of material debuted here, so this one is fantastic to have. The most interesting part is that the entire final side is Brian trying to record some sort of odd comedy album with all the studio musicians, which for him involved locking them in a dark room and making them improvise. And it's about as bizarre and confusing as you would possibly expect from that sort of situation, and really does give kind of a startling image of where his head was at the time, but intriguing nonetheless, and kind of makes you understand the rest of the material a little bit more. And this is the last one I know of. This is the 2003 Sea of Tunes release. This is 1 LP, just back to basics, trying to reconstruct the album. Some interesting version choices here. You know, they consciously made an effort not to just pick the same versions as all the other reconstructions. So instead of the standard version of Wonderful, you get like the weird Rock With Me Henry version. No goodies and posters this time, but this one's on green vinyl, so that's cool. Alright, hopefully you enjoyed the second trip into my bag of music swag, and with apologies to Mr. LeVar Burton, I'll see you next time.